Hello, I'm Anna Karugati, the Group Editorial Director of WorldScreen. I'm delighted today to be with Greer Simpkin, the producer for the critically acclaimed series Mystery Road, produced by Bunya Productions and distributed around the world by All3Media International. Greer, I've been watching the first season and I was positively blown away, A, by the beauty of the landscape and the cinematic quality of the production. I don't mean to undermine the effort, but I didn't expect something like that from a TV series. So let's start with, how did Mystery Road come about? Because there were feature films, right, behind it?
Yes, that's correct. Our business partner at Bunya Productions, Ivan Sen, is an Indigenous filmmaker. He's an auteur feature film director. He made 2 feature films, Mystery Road and then a follow-up, Goldstone, and we decided to adapt it into a TV series. And I think what we really tried to do, you speak about the beautiful cinematography, is we tried to keep that cinematic feel of a feature film with the TV series. We actually shot it like a feature film. We shot it, we shot out locations. We were in the middle of nowhere. We were, it took 2 days to fly to where we were filming. So we were bringing up cast, and so we really had to think about how we did that. So we shot it like a feature film, and we edited it like a 6-hour long feature film. And so I think we really wanted to try and keep that cinematic quality. Ivan's an Indigenous filmmaker. He wanted to make films that speak to his experience as an Aboriginal man caught between 2 worlds, and he created that character of Jay Swan, beautifully played by Aaron Pedersen. And we continued that in the series, those themes of exploration of colonisation in Australia and what that means to the Australian identity, I guess.
Absolutely. How incredibly timely, given what's happening in other countries and certainly here in America with everything that's exploded this summer with Black Lives Matter and the identity of people and America's reckoning with its past, which is part of what's in Mystery Road too, isn't it, in terms of Australia?
Absolutely. What we're trying to do is explore Australia's past through genre, through the Western. The character of Jay Swan comes into a new town. In both series, they're a completely self-contained storyline. So people can come to series 2 having not watched series 1. We're very clear about that. It's a new story each time. Jay Swan comes to a new town and he digs underneath that town and finds secrets. So there's a contemporary crime that he comes to town for, a crime from 15 years ago, and then something from the deep past. And series 1, we were looking at the fact that there were massacres happened all over Australia that haven't really been recognised or kind of acknowledged, or even certainly what we'd love is for it to be reconciled as part of our past. In the second series, we are looking, one of the themes is looking at the acquisition of artefacts, essentially bones, through the character of Sophia Helen, the archaeologist. It was inspired, if I may speak about that for a minute. Yes. We went back to the community of Kununurra, where we shot the first series, which is right up in the Kimberley part of Australia. It's very, very remote. In an area the size of Europe, 25,000 people live. It's very remote. And we went back to show the community the first series, and we were invited to a repatriation ceremony, and it was incredibly moving. People's bones had been taken by scientific expeditions. That's happened all over the world, and they were in museums in Europe. And there's a big movement in Australia to try and get these essentially their ancestors home on what they call country, home on country. And we saw a repatriation ceremony of some of these bones. They were very, direct ancestors, not that, from last century, from the 1920s, and it was incredibly moving. And we were like, I think we need to tell that story. So that's essentially one of the major themes of the second series of Mystery Road.
You mentioned the effects of colonization in the first series. Tell me a little bit more about the themes that are explored besides the repatriation.
Yeah. The very first film that Ivan made it was inspired by his cousin, who was murdered and found in a drain, and no one ever investigated. It's still not been, whoever did it has never been found. And missing women, Aboriginal women, is a something that is still happening all the time. And perhaps one could say that when Aboriginal women go missing, it's not, unfortunately, as newsworthy as other stories. And so in a way, that's one of the stories of the second series as well. There's a fantastic character, Fran, played by Jada Alberts, who's a rookie cop, and her very good friend and cousin went missing 15 years before, and no one in the community, no one speaks about it. And she decided to become a cop and put on the uniform so she could ask the questions that were not being answered in otherwise. So apart from the repatriation story, we do have the story of, a missing young Aboriginal girl.
Right. Now, watching, as I said, it's only the first one so far, I get the impression, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the landscape, which is so unique, almost seems like a character in itself. Was that intentional?
Absolutely. I think Indigenous people's connection to land is very strong all around the world, and certainly that's been one of the things we wanted to absolutely showcase and highlight. In the first series, there's these great, what they call jump ups. These you've got desert and then these enormous mountains. It's completely spectacular. In the second series, we shot in a place called Broome, which is on the coast, on the other side of the Kimberley. And the desert is actually red. They call it Pindan. And so it's red desert that hits this incredible aqua green sea. It's really spectacular. So again, we've really highlighted that landscape. In the second series, a body is found in the mangroves. In the northern parts of Australia, it's dangerous. There are crocodiles, there are snakes. There's always this. There is a simmering, feel, really. The Aboriginal people obviously absolutely know how to traverse it in a way that white people don't even now. But it's an incredibly powerful landscape, and it looks beautiful. In the second series, we were very lucky to have the cinematographer but director Warwick Thornton, who won the Camera d'Or at Cannes Film Festival for his first film, Samson and Delilah. He is the most beautiful cinematographer. So he was the DOP and the director, along with director Wayne Blair, and it's just spectacular. I'm really very proud of what it looks like.
Were you obviously, since the show is being delivered and has aired, you were able to complete everything before the shutdown from the pandemic?
The lockdown happened when we were in post-production, but we did it all remotely, actually. But we were really fortunate to have finished shooting before it
Absolutely.
hit.
So these are very Australian stories, but what gives the both series the international appeal? What can somebody who doesn't know, like me, I've never been, it's top of my list on my travel wish list, but I've never been, what would draw me in?
I think despite the very specific location, we've really sought to tell a universal story. Apart from the crimes that I've described, really it's a story about family as well. In the first series, Jay Swan meets up with his ex-wife and his daughter. So, there's a missing boy and his family are part of the storyline. In the second series, his ex-wife is there again. There's lots of universal themes in there for everybody to latch onto. Wherever we are in the world, we share humanity, and I think that comes through absolutely.
Right. And was representation of Indigenous people also an important part for both series?
Absolutely, absolutely. This series, originally inspired by Ivan Sen, who's an Aboriginal filmmaker. Both series have had Indigenous writers in the writers' room, Stephen McGregor and Cody Bedford. They are always directed by an Indigenous filmmaker. A lot of the cast are Indigenous, but certainly a lot of people behind the scenes as well. Wherever we go in remote communities, we hire local Indigenous people. It's very much part of our ethos. And I think, I feel as a white Australian New Zealander, I feel it's an enormous privilege to be involved in enabling these amazing Indigenous creatives to tell their stories. And it's very important to us, and it's a privilege. And I think that authenticity is imbued throughout the series, and you can really tell.
Right.
Yeah.
And looking at the rest of Bunya production slate, is presenting important themes inside a genre or inside a captivating story something that you try to do in many of your projects?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for asking that. Actually, it is. I think we will only do a project if we feel that it has something to say. That's and it makes it really enjoyable when you're making content that you feel. We hope it has something to say anyway, but certainly our slate, we've got a number of feature films being released right now, and they explore similar themes, and yeah, it's definitely part of our vision.
And also there's an incredible amount of talent in Australia, right? Isn't there? Across the board, behind the camera and in front of the camera.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love working with Australian cast. The crews are amazing. There's a whole lot of new, young, Indigenous, but also all sorts of diverse voices coming to the fore in Australia. It's a really exciting time. Yeah.
Excellent. And how long did series 2 take to shoot? And you all stayed in the same location, and it was a remote one again?
Yes, we shot in 2 places. We shot in Broome. We also shot in an Indigenous community right up in a place called the Dampier Peninsula, which is it's only about 120 kilometres, I don't know, about 80 miles, but it takes about 4 hours on a dirt road to get up there. So we shot in that community as well, which is where you get some of those incredible sand dunes, vistas and so on. We were up there shooting for 10 weeks. I think we probably shoot things a little bit faster than you might in the US, but we have terrific crews and we managed to do that. So we, when we go away on a Mystery Road shoot, we go for quite a long time. It's like once you're up in you're up there for 5 or 6 months. So you really get to know a place, which is, again, an enormous privilege. Yeah.
Right. And the atmosphere on set when you're together in a remote place for such a long time?
Well, I would say it was incredibly amazing to get Sophia Helen from The Bridge to come and be in the second series. And she has spoken about it publicly, and I'm really touched by that. She said it really was an amazing set. It was very quiet. Warwick Thornton and Wayne Blair, the directors, just there's consummate professionals. So there's no need for any shouting, or it's really like a big family. They're great friends of ours. Warwick is a great chef. We cook big, meals happening for the entire crew. It really is like a family. And they travel with us on all the shoots. We have the same crew, so it's really lovely.
That's fabulous. And I would be remiss if I didn't ask about Aaron Pedersen. Fabulous Jay Swan. Whoa. Yeah. My husband is here, so I can say, whoa.
He is incredible. He exudes this incredible presence on screen. Ivan said to him originally, just breathe, just be in the silences. He doesn't say much. He's so compelling on screen. In real life, he's very funny, beautiful smile, but he really does exude something really special. I think he has a strength and a vulnerability that that is really appealing when you're watching it. And he really shows that character being caught between two worlds, I think.
Absolutely.
In a really beautiful
And
way.
he can communicate so much non-verbally. That's, yeah.
Oh, it's
Absolutely.
lovely that you see that. Yeah.
Yes. Well, so even though you said I don't need to see the end of season 1 to enjoy season 2, I'm still, because I have to find out what happened, I will complete the first one, and I'm anxious to see the second. Greer,
Oh,
thank you so much for your time. And thank you for these fabulous series. I mean, there's a lot to choose from nowadays, but this really stands out. It's beautifully done.
Thank you ever so much. Thank you. Lovely to meet you. Okay.
Likewise. Take care.